Hello everyone and welcome to Juan Between the Pages. My name is Juan and in today's video I'm going to rank every single book I read in 2022 so far. This year I have read 25 books so far. I know that's not a lot compared to other booktubers, but I started to catch up in May and June. So right now I'm trying to keep up with the booktube expectations. I'm not going to just rank these books, but I will also give a score out of 10. I keep in mind that this is just my opinion, this is just my experience while reading these books. It's not how good these books are or as a literature piece on its own. So take that into consideration while watching this video, please. And before starting, hi, I'm Juan. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please consider subscribing to the channel, leave a like down below and tell me what's your favorite book so far of 2022. And tell me also which is the worst book you have read this year so far. I will love to read it down below and discuss a little bit with you guys. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, number 18 goes to A Court of Thorns and Roses. This book was not good for me. I didn't like the way it's written. I think there's a lot of metaphors that didn't work. I think that the main relationship of the main two characters is really toxic. It's not my cup of tea. I liked some aspects of the world building. I liked some of the side characters like Rizan or Nesta. But at the end, I think that this was not a good experience for me, so I'll give it 4 points out of 10. In number 17 comes One of Us is Lying. This book was okay, but it was mediocre, I think. The way it's executed, the way it's written, I think the story was really basic in a way. I think the characters were really stereotypical. It didn't really work for me. I thought it was going to be a huge success for me. I thought that it was right on my alley, but I have read better stuff from the same genre, so yeah, 5 points out of 10 for sure. Number 16 goes to May the Best Man Win. I think this book was good because it has trans representation. I think that it's really good how it explores the whole transition, but I think that it was kinda annoying. I think the main character comes off as mean sometimes. I didn't like how the author explores autism in this book. And I think that at the end, the relationship of the main two characters didn't quite work. But I think it's nice to have representation. I think this is a really good book, but it was not what I was expecting. So I'll give it 6 points out of 10. In number 15 comes The Great Gatsby. I know this is a huge favorite among booktube, and also there's a lot of people who are really into these kind of stories, but this was not quite for me. I didn't like most of the characters. I think that they weren't as relatable as I was expecting, but I think that the novel was good overall. I think it has great moments and aspects and how it explores the American dream and other topics very well. But overall, I think this was not for me, but I will give The Great Gatsby 6 points out of 10. In number 14 comes Solitaire. Even though I have explored this book in my Alice Oseman video, I'm going to say that this book is quite good in a way because it explores story really well. But I think that it was quite depressing in a way, and you have to be in a good state of mind to read it. And I think that the story, especially the third act, was a lot for me. So yeah, I'm gonna give Solitaire 6 points out of 10. On number 13 comes Normal People. I think this is a well-written book. I think it uses the miscommunication trope quite effectively, but I couldn't connect as much with the characters, even though, of course, they have been through a lot. I think that sometimes this book wasn't as empathetic as I was expecting it to be. So I will give Normal People 6.5 out of 10 points. In number 12 come Nick and Charlie and This Winter. Both were already discussed by me in my Alice Oseman video, but I think those two are really charming, really cute, but they were quite short, so I'm not going to rank them any higher on this list. So I'm going to give both of the novellas together 5 points out of 10. Number 11 comes Here's to Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. This is a sequel to What If It's Us, and it's really cute. I think that it wrapped up their story quite effectively, and I liked it even more than the first book. So if you like YA LGBTQ stories, I think this one is for you. So I'm going to give this book 7.5 out of 10 points for sure. Now, top 10 baby. In number 10 comes People Will Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This is the first book I read from this author, and once I read Beach Read and Book Lovers, I think this one is the weakest, but I find the love interest the most interesting to me because I like that kind of man. I think that Alex is everything I am expecting in a dude. That's why I'm single. Also, the main character is quite charming, so I think this story is quite good. It's a good summer read for sure. So I'm going to give People Will Meet on Vacation 8 points out of 10. On the 9th spot comes Percy Jackson, The Heroes of Olympus, the first 3 books actually. I love the series, but I have read the 3 books back to back, so I was quite like overwhelmed. So I really need to just like take my time and then read part 4 and 5. This series is so good, it's even better than the first one. I think the author has matured in a way now with the characters also. They're also like now older and wiser in a way. And I think that the new characters were integrated to the story quite effectively. So I'm going to give Percy Jackson, The Heroes of Olympus, book 1 to 3, 8.5 points out of 10. Being The Mark of Athena, my favorite one for sure. I think that my least favorite was Son of Neptune. Number 8 comes Book Lovers by Emily Henry. So this is the second Emily Henry book you're going to see in this ranking. I think that at first I was quite concerned about this book, but then the story unfolded. I think that it became more complex, and I was really rooting for the main character halfway through the book. And I think that the last 100 pages were amazing, and I'm going to talk more about this book in my July wrap-up, but for now I'm going to say that I really like this book, so I'm going to give Book Lovers 8.5 out of 10 points. On number 7 we have a tie between Beach Read and We Were Liars. I think Beach Read is the best Emily Henry book. The characters are so endearing, and the love story was so relatable in a way. And I think that the whole exploration of January's grief and how in a way they were fixing each other, but in a non-toxic way. So I think this book is amazing. And also We Were Liars was quite a surprise to me. I love the way we explore the main character's amnesia and how we realize what really happened in this story. And I think it was quite effective, and I really enjoyed reading it. I think I ended up really sad after reading this book, so I think it did its job quite well. So I'm also giving these 2 books 8.5 points out of 10. So now the S tier. These 6 books that I'm going to talk about were my ultimate favorites of this year so far. On number 6 comes I Kissed Shara Wheeler. I think this story is amazing. The LGBTQ representation is awesome. There's a lot of different characters with different experiences, and I think they're really interesting to read and to get to know their stories. And I really adore the main character. I love the 2 other characters are looking for Shara Wheeler as well because she's missing. You can just hear me talk a little bit more about this book in my Casey McWisdom video, but for now I'm going to say that I'm going to give I Kissed Shara Wheeler 9 points out of 10. This is quite controversial, but on the 5th spot comes Pride and Prejudice. I adore this book. I don't know why I haven't read this before, but this book was exquisite. I love the characters. I love how it explores Elizabeth's thoughts and feelings towards other characters, marriage, and society as a whole. I think it's really quite interesting, and I have already talked about this book in my June wrap-up, so you should go and watch it. But for now, I'm going to say that I'm going to give Pride and Prejudice 9 points out of 10. And this is the really controversial part, because on the 4th spot comes Heartstopper, the series, volume 1 to 4. Yes, it's about Pride and Prejudice, I'm sorry, but I'm just talking about my experience reading these books and how it affected me this year so far. I think the Heartstopper is so wholesome and so charming and so cute. I was always rooting for the main characters, and I'm really happy that I have read it. And also I watched the Netflix series. It was quite charming and amazing, and I think it elevated the comic even more. And I'm going to give Heartstopper 9.5 points out of 10. This was really difficult to rank them. between them because I will just give the first spot to the three of these books. But on number 3 comes The Song of Achilles. I think that this book was so endearing. I cried a lot while I was reading it, and I think it's so perfectly written. It made like old tales and story really easy to read. I think that that's a huge achievement from the author, and I love Patroclus as our narrator. So of course I'm going to give The Song of Achilles 10 points out of 10, and you can watch a little bit more of my thoughts on this book in my mid-year freak out tag video, so go give it a go and have fun. On the second spot comes Cerulean Sea. I love this book. It was recommended everywhere here on BookTube, also in BookTok, and I think the hype is quite deserving. This book is awesome. It's an exploration of humankind, existentialism. I think the way it's written and how it is actually a journal from the main character, I think it was quite genius, and you will love this ride for sure. It's a little bit sad towards the end, it's a little bit triggering sometimes, but overall I think that it's perfectly executed. I am going to give Cerulean Sea 10 points out of 10 for sure. I also discussed this book on my freak out tag video, so also you can know more about what I think in that video. Next, and the first spot goes to The House in the Cerulean Sea. This is exactly my cup of tea. This is queer, this is fantasy, and this is wholesome. Everything I adore. It's so well written, it's so cozy. I absolutely adore this book, and you will choose, so you should just go and give it a go. So this was all for today. This is my ranking for every single book I've read in 2022 so far. What do you think? Do you agree with my ranking? Please tell me down below how many books have you read so far, and which one was your favorite and which one was your least favorite. I really want to know. Thank you so much for watching. You can follow me on Instagram, where I post more consistently than here on YouTube. And thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you guys the next time.